uniting song across the universe.
Welcome to the 803rd Interstellar Song Contest!
So, the Interstellar Song Contest. Question: what is this episode about? Well, the answer is the Doctor and Belinda arrive on a space station, or bubble above the space station, and it's an interstellar song contest, sort of like Eurovision, America's Got Talent, um, American Idol, something along those lines. Song contest thing. It's a big deal, apparently. Belinda has great memories of this. Olivia Newton-John, the stories about this. Look, this isn't my thing. This really isn't. Um, but that doesn't really matter towards the story. Okay, so what what do you like about this story? Well, if I'm being honest, the first couple of minutes of this are really good. We have great moments of just sort of atmosphere, something about to happen. We see relatively, mostly aliens we haven't seen before, but okay, that's always good. Little moments of Belinda talking about her childhood growing up with this show is great. Um, but also, I mean, let's be clear. Let's be clear. The main reason I like this is because, spoiler alert, Susan's here. I adore Susan Foreman. All right, Caroline Ford does a lot of great work, namely her Big Finish audios for me as a viewer, or listener in this case. More Susan is always a good thing for me. That was my favorite part of An Earthly Child. Here to hear her say grandfather. Again, that was beautiful. Um, and of course, again, Susan's War, seeing Susan at the time war, Susan grown up, it was great. Um, Anything else that I just kind of just didn't like. Well, not so much I didn't like this. So the real sort of surprise of this episode, or surprise, the inciting incident is that um, a rebel by the name of Kid is a part of a group called the Hellions, from the planet Helios, Helion, a hell named planet that the corporation, yeah, the corporation, nice big bold name, as to not offend anyone, to make you think we aren't actually like referencing anyone in particular. Um, After the corporation bought their planet and sort of ostracized the people, they bought them and the people. All right, and Kid is here to sort of enact revenge. So after catapulting all 100,000 people, or at least 100,000 people, out of the space station into space, where they should have all died right then and there, he then plans to unleash a delta wave bomb, which will kill 3 trillion people. This will destroy the corporation. I'm like, yeah, 3 trillion people, I'm sure, buy products from the corporation. So if 3 trillion of any groups, of any businesses, like uh consumer base just left, they would be destroyed. Yeah, this was stupid. This was stupid. This idea is stupid. I think it would have been better had Kid tried to just hold the show hostage and gone for this. Like, I'll like really, he had everything he needed in the station. He didn't have to kill 3 trillion people. Holding the station hostage, holding the entire this big event, I think was like the best possible solution. But we didn't do that. But anyway, the Doctor is trying to stop him from killing those 3 trillion people. He's also in a bit of a mood because he thinks Belinda was one of the people hurled up into the space bubble, or out of the bubble. So thought was one of the 100,000. Which, this is where this falls apart. All right. So the Doctor already says those 100,000 people are just sort of frozen. All right. They're not dead. If they're brought back, they can be revived. I'm like, okay, so they're fine. There's no time limit. If they say, hey, we've only got like a couple of hours before we can get them down, or even an hour before to take control of this and get them back, then that would be more interesting. All right. But no, we don't get a time limit. It's like they'll be fine if we just get them down. Okay. Okay. How do we stop the 3 trillion people? Well, I just have to stop the 3 trillion. I just have to stop the bomb from going off. Okay. How do you get to that? I just have to do this. I have to do a thing. Um, is this episode trying to be really about that? I don't think so. I think what it's trying to do is get inside the Doctor's headspace because he's really, really mad about the 3 trillion people possibly being killed. and he's out of character for I think even the Doctor, not just like this incarnation, the Doctor as a whole. Because it's for a while we think it's the possible loss of Belinda because he thinks Belinda's dead. Belinda thinks that the Doctor's dead. Belinda, Verada gives a brilliant performance, I think, as she contemplates where she is now that she thinks the Doctor's gone. The fact that not only has she lost her friend, who she's never got to tell how important and how brilliant she thinks he is, she now realizes she's alone. She's nobody. She doesn't know where she is. She doesn't know where, when, or how she is anywhere. She doesn't know anybody. It's a great moment. But the Doctor, I don't quite get it. Like he's very angry at Kid. He's very angry. Very good. Like you've put ice in my heart. I'm like, okay, okay, there, sport. Okay, okay. I don't quite get that. At the end of this, he'll say it was because, well, it reminded me of losing my own people, losing the Time Lords, and I'm thinking, which time? The Time War, Spyfall, where you found out the Master killed all the Time Lords. Which time? This would be a great time to use visuals to show what the Doctor's going through, as if he's trying to stop this genocide. To mention it at the end is like, oh, no, there's a sort of great moment when the Doctor confronts Kid, and it's a great scene, I think, showing how clever the Doctor is. It reminded me a bit, and this is the highest compliment I think I've ever given. The 15th Doctor. It reminds me of the 11th Doctor in Day of the Moon, when the 11th Doctor tricks the Silence into ordering their own genocide. This time he just sort of like, hey, hologram, and he's just so angry at Kid. It doesn't quite feel warranted. Um, because while he's trying to do it, I don't think he's ever been that angry at the Daleks or the Cybermen. This is another thing too. Like, so the Hellions are treated differently because of their horns. And I thought there are way weirder, way more evil looking aliens than the Hellions just because they have horns. I've From Russell's era, no less. All right, so we have a problem. We don't have a problem with Zygons, the Vord, the Silurians, but people with horns. That's where we draw the line. Weird. Weird. Now, you can say this was a smear campaign by the corporation to justify it so they can take control of their honey or their honey scent, honey flavor. Like it's not quite honey, but they paraded as honey. That's the whole reason they did this is for the honey scent or the smell or the artificial honey, so to speak. And I'm just thinking, why? Like, of all the things, why? Like, Russell seems to have forgotten how to write Doctor Who, which I think is weird considering everyone was so happy. But I was against Russell coming back because this felt like we were taking a step back by constantly going back to things that we know worked instead of bringing new ideas. There should have been a generation of new writers to take over from Doctor Who, take over from Russell and Moffat. And I think, and this time I don't want to say it's Chibnall's fault because it's not Chibnall's fault. Chibnall was offered a once in a lifetime job for a Doctor Who fan to be at the helm. All right, I don't blame him for taking it. I have other things to blame Chibnall for, but maybe a newer generation of writers should have came in for Chibnall or even for Russell instead of Russell, like and breathed new life into the show, because Russell just seems to meander about like what is the lesson here? Hey, they're wrong to be upset about the fact that that planet was bought. Who bought the planet? Who had the rights to sell the planet? Just say they took the planet. Just say they invaded and they took it, but someone sold the planet to the corporation? How? How? Who had the original rights to the planet? Oh god, I gotta watch the Silurian canon now, don't I? Or the Doomsday Contract. All right, all right. Oh god, I gotta go to that Silurian contract. Oh, but anyway. So, then they the Hellions infiltrate the space. They want revenge against the corporation, so they want to kill 3 trillion people to destroy the corporation. And I thought, why aren't we at the corporation? You can infiltrate the. You can infiltrate like America's Got Talent, Eurovision, whatever. You can infiltrate that, but you can't infiltrate the corporation. You didn't even try to expose the corporation. Why not hold them hostage? You have 100,000 people. That is a bargaining chip. All right? The corporation sponsors this. You could literally get them to do it. And I don't quite get, because at the end of the day, none of this mattered. None of anything about the people who've been genocided, the people who've been oppressed. None of this mattered at the end of the day for this story. This story was ultimately more stuff about, hey, what happened to Earth? Hey, it destroyed on May 24th. Hey, we all knew that. Susan, sweet, beautiful cinnamon roll, Susan, you can do no wrong for me. I'm glad you're here, Carol Ann Ford. You got me through this episode each time. Or you were there, guiding grandfather. Find me, grandfather. Find me, grandfather. I'm like, yes, yes, find her. Don't tease me like this, Russell. You have Susan, now bring back Gallifrey. And then you have the Ronnie doing bioregeneration, and big surprise, she's meaner about it than the Doctor. The Doctor's like, she's like, oh, we're doing this. Really? All right. You're a Ronnie. I'm the Ronnie. I'm the definite article. I'm like, oh, look at that. Look at that. Is this supposed to be Ronnie number 4? Is this the 4th Ronnie? I think. We're only on. Can to be like the 3rd Ronnie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's yeah, I think 3 Ronnies. TV wise. 4th if we count the audio. So 4 Ronnies. So yeah, the 4th Ronnie. Oh, look at that. Yeah, it just ends with the Ronnie. Mrs. Flood is the Ronnie. A bunch of you don't know who the Ronnie is. That's fine. All right. So the Ronnie showed up in the Six Dogs era. She was another evil Time Lord, which puts us at, I guess, 3. Well, at least 3 recurring Time Lords that grew up with the Doctor on Gallifrey. Uh, the 7th Doctor reveals that he and the Ronnie are the same age. I'm not sure if that's still true, because Classic Who was all over the place with ages, which we've tried to retcon by adding it to the Thomas Child thing, but it just, no. But she was effectively a mad scientist, where the master was like, I want to enslave the universe and take control of everything. I want to be president of Gallifrey and whatnot. Megalomania. The Ron is like, I want to conduct mad experiments. On what? Yes. That's kind of it. So what the Ronnie wants here, we don't know. We know that she's been basically being Missy from the 12th Doctor's first season, collecting things that involve the Doctor. But she also seems to be very content on hiding her existence from the Doctor. So I'm like, okay, all right. So how do we tie Susan to the Ronnie? Again, Susan versus the Ronnie sounds cool. Like, will Susan be the key to stopping the Ronnie? Will we regenerate Susan? So then the Doctor can travel with his granddaughter again? Because this thing, I love Caroline Ford. I do. Susan is I love Susan as a character. I think she's fun. She's the first Doctor Who companion. I think it's great. But as I said, same thing with Romana too. You have a very limited time where you can sort of end that character with the original actor. All right, Lala Ward. Let's regenerate her. Let's get Romana 3 finally. Susan, Caroline Ford, it's getting up there. Um, um, we still don't know whether or not Susan can regenerate. We've never gotten confirmation on it. Big Finish doesn't want to regenerate Susan. No one wants to be the one to do that. Russell, do it. You've brought the Ronnie back, and no one was really asking for the Ronnie. But I've been asking for Susan since day 1, Russell. And Gallifrey. All right? And Matt Smith on Big Finish. But, one of those just doesn't seem to be happening. I've got Susan on screen for Doctor Who before I get Matt Smith on Big Finish. And I'm happy and frustrated at the same time. This episode has no teeth. It's like Kerblam, but actually worse. Because for all the talk these people get, there's a little bit of talk about the prejudice that the Hellions face, but it doesn't go anywhere. There's no real talk about it. Like, no one, like, there's a great scene where Cora, one of the singers, reveals that she is a Hellion and that her horns were forcibly ripped off. I'm like, that is really sad and tragic. We're not going to go anywhere with it. Like, he's saying only 2 people are prejudiced against the Hellions, and then, like, maybe an unnamed number of them in the audience when Cole reveals who she is. But nothing else really comes from it. All right, we don't find out about how other people feel about it or anything. Everyone just sort of like, oh, the Hellions actually aren't terrible. Except that one. Yeah, that one. And he's sort of unrepentant. The doctor writes him off as like, you're just a killer. Vengeance is your excuse. I'm like, yeah, but he's also like, forced from his home as a child. Like, he's I don't like I'm all for the idea the ends don't justify the means. Like, no matter how hurt you are, it doesn't justify killing 3 trillion innocent people. Yeah. But at what point did we just the Davros audio gets better and better each time. New Who tries to go against the evil of corporations. Okay? Watch the Lorax, people. Not that new one. Not that Chris Meledandri one, like the old one from '72. That one's way more interesting, uh, and a bit more grounded in its approach. This here has nothing to offer anyone. This is not even worthy of being labeled a woke story. It just is stupid. Thank you, Susan, for saving this episode. And thank you, Ronnie, for, well, being the Ronnie. We'll see what comes from this later. Anyway, that's enough of me complaining. If you are new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, smash that thumbs up button. I'll catch you all later. This is Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching as always. May your fandom serve you well.